Hi everybody, this is Dave. I'm here with another update on the RPG platform I've been working on. So I'm going with the name Dangerlands for a project right now, a project name. I'm going to name this guy Rounder. Just a quick update with me, these are all XML driven data files. We've got some basic character classes they each come with their own skins and weapon mounting. The weapons can be offset, so when I define a new weapon, I can tell it that it needs to go, come in or out on the local axes for the hands or whatnot. And you can choose a different starting skin or what have you. This guy is just going to be a warrior and connect. So this is connecting to a Shiva-based Linux server that I have hosted here in a Linux box. And the way that this is going to work is you create a match. So if you click the Choose Adventure box, it will just give you an adventure. I'm going to be allowing people to define their own adventures. An adventure is basically an area of maps. It could be 1 map, 3 maps, 5 maps. That kind of represents like a quest. Not a quest, sort of like a campaign, an adventuring campaign. We're going to pick the starting area for now, and we're going to create a match. So it's going to load an area. I've been working on randomly generated stuff. So what this area has started with is a plane. So this plane here, I'll show you if I switch the view mode a little bit, is a plane. And it just stretches for a while, and it's got a bunch of vertexes on it. The first thing I do is I deform the ground. So I do a bunch of random numbers and say, for every 5 vertexes, I'm going to deform a certain number of them, and then I'm going to skip a certain number of them. And I told it to deform those up to 10 units high and 0.5 units small, because I want to create areas of elevation, but I don't really want to dip down too much. So this really helps me kind of break up the terrain a little bit, and you can see, for example, off that way. I'm going to actually switch the rendering mode back. If I look that way, it's not a completely flat terrain for a basic map, and it was very cheap in terms of processing to do. Because I am using random number seeds, I can actually store the settings for this entire map with just a number. So whatever the seed for this, I can feed it into the random number generator and have the same result back, as long as the engine will continue to do that. So we start with a terrain. These little dungeon walls were here before, because I used this to sort of test collisions and monsters and stuff. The next thing we did was I added in these hill objects. So I took this is a hemisphere, and I create one version of it at runtime, and then I make copies of it and I deform it. You can see that if I sort of view under the ground here, it extends down below. And what I basically do is I look at all the vertexes, and then I decide which are the highest vertexes in the object and which are the lowest, and I keep the lowest the way they are so that they don't like bend up and create a nice hollow spot for me. And then I just shift all the vertexes a few units here or there on different axes, and that gave me a bunch of different hills on different scales, and they're all based off the same object. Then I combine them as runtime objects and set them as colliders. So what I can actually do is just walk up to them and just walk all over them, and this gives me a nice little hilly look. One of the neat things that I did is I set an area scale, so that if there are large hills in an area, we're not going to have like a bunch of large hills mixed with small hills. They'll all be large, or they'll mostly be small. That'll kind of help me keep the like the cohesion for the area together, so I can like keep a consistent look and style. What I also did was I modified, when I create this new deformed mesh, I modified the UV scale of the material that's on it to match the terrain based on the scale that I have set. I have to get a little bit better with the algorithm, because it used to match up real nice, but I have a slightly different setting here so that it will not look exactly, so we can sort of tell the difference between the two. So here, this is, the collider for this object was created dynamically, and I can walk up it and have a good time, and he's just, walking all around. The other stuff I did was I added in trees dynamically based on 7 different tree models. I'm switching between them and scaling them. and I added some rocks. So I have a bank of 4 different rocks that will add in at different scales and stuff like that. And I'll be adding other objects too, like flowers and whatnot, to help split up the land a little bit. I also done a lot of work with the camera. As you can see now, when he's going down an elevation, the camera will maneuver, it will go up so that you can sort of see where you're headed. And likewise, if you're going up on an elevation, the camera will switch so that you can just sort of always see. If you stop, the camera's just gonna focus more on you, because the theory is that you want to see what's around you unless you're moving. If you're moving, you kind of want to see where you're headed and get a nicer look at the landscape and stuff like that. So I spent several days just tweaking with that, working with the collision detection of the camera. It's still not exactly perfect, but it for the most part works. You just saw collision detection there. The camera realized that there was an object between me and the like if I go like this, how to make this work? Yeah, the camera's going to zoom in because it realized that something is between us. I'll zoom right in. So right now I can zoom in with the mouse wheel, zoom out. This is temporary, but if you click on the guy and move mouse side to side or up and down, you can also sort of look around and that will reset. So watch how the camera sort of zooms back in on me. I'm not moving, and then if I'm moving, the camera will slowly fade up so I can see the distance a little bit. And when I stop moving, the camera will focus back on me nice and gently. One of the other things I did to facilitate moving around, and because it was just fun, was I added a jump in. So here's a regular jump, and if I charge the jump a little bit, he can get on top of this wall and move around. If I press shift, he'll walk around more slowly. Now what's interesting that you can do now, and I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this in or make it a special ability or what have you, but if you sort of do a double jump, you can fly. And I took advantage of this guy's fly animation. And if I keep hitting space, I can sort of increase my elevation here, and he'll just continue to fly around, and then he'll slowly lose altitude as his speed decreases until he hits the ground there. So you can get to the point where you're cruising along the ground and you're still flying. See his little shadow there? And it's just kind of fun to walk around like this. It's a little bit faster than walking, probably about 3 times as fast. We still have plenty of monsters and what have you. Oh, in case you were wondering, the rocks, I'm going to jump and fly over here. The rocks that we added in, they do have colliders set on them. They're dynamically added colliders. The trees do not have colliders set in there yet because I did not want to have colliding meshes for all of the tops of the trees, because that just seems silly. We still have the ability to create new AI on the fly, new monster spawns. So I'm just going to create a bunch here, and then they'll slowly start to spawn in. Right now I have a little bit of debug information coming up. These AIs are all defined in the XML files for the level. So if I want to have 3 spawn or just 1 or what have you, here you can see the terrain is bending up a little bit. If you want to have 3 spawners, 1 or whatever, you can have as many spawn as you like. And I keep an entity count so I can sort of see how many I have running at one time. And they're gonna beat down on me, but I can just fly away, of course. What else did I do here? You know, I added a little healing spell so I can heal myself. I can also heal monsters if I want to, which is kind of interesting. And that's kind of it. What I've been doing is, because it's going to be impossible for me as one developer to add tons and tons of maps for this, I really wanted to get in some random world generation, and this is just the start of it. I really need to get a little bit more consistent with the types of numbers that I'm using, but I do feel like I've got a pretty good camera system and movement system. I've got a few little tweaks I have to make still. For example, if I'm going down an elevation, you know, he really shouldn't have felt like that was something to fly off of or fall off of. He should just hug it a little bit better. So I've got to make some little tweaks there. and I was actually looking at some of Bruiser's code that he used for the third-party camera, third-person camera to do that. Let's see. If I, one of the cool things about the camera and motion control system, if I create go in the beginners area, it's a dungeon, so this is a completely indoor map. And this is an old map that my buddy Todd had made for us when we were working on this project, a few years ago. And I just sort of, after all the camera and motion upgrades, I just popped it open. I haven't changed colliders or anything like that. But I do have the ability to, walk around this thing and climb on the objects that I should be able to climb on, and not walk up the walls or anything like that. Well, that's a little bit of a walking up the wall thing there. But I can jump, so that's neat. I have now the ability to do terrains, mesh-based maps, or these nice indoor maps, and the camera works just a lot better than it used to. So I'm just really super tickled about that. And so those are a lot of significant advancements I've made over the last few weeks, and have not posted any videos yet. And I'll be adding a lot of stuff to this creation menu so that we can add some cool new objects on the fly. And that's what the admin will be able to do. But I'm going to use this sort of engine and the creation engine, the object creation engine, to allow people to have their own unique terrains that you can use to create maps on, and in little areas that can be mined and defended, and create your own little village, and battle with other villages and have kingdoms and allegiances and things like that. But that's an actual game implementation. This is more of an engine still. So thanks for listening for almost 12 minutes now, and we'll see you on the forums.